Welcome to the next episode of Wealth Strategies to Value. I'm your host, Troy Shorts. It's been a little while since I've been with you guys, so today I have a very important message that I want to share with you guys. And I'm hoping that you're watching this, because if you're listening to this, it's not going to quite have the same impact. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to change my screen. I want to share this photo with you. And I want you to take 10 seconds and look at this photo very fast and then turn your eyes away. And I want you to tell me what you see. Now, after you do that, I want you to come back and I want you to look at the photo again. I want you to stare intently at it for about 10 to 15 seconds. And now I want you to tell me what you see. For those of you that are listening to this and are not watching this, what I put in front of the camera is a very cool photo. And I want to give a shout out to the artist who put this together, because I think this is absolutely amazing. You guys have probably seen this photo before somewhere online, where if you look at it one way, it looks like a rabbit. But if you stare at it another way, it literally looks like a duck. If you show this photo to 10 people, I don't know how many people are going to say a duck at first sight or how many people are going to say a rabbit at first sight. But what I'm saying is, I don't know if it's the way your brain is wired, but, when I first saw this, the first thing I saw was a rabbit. And I showed my mother this picture and she said, "Oh, it's a duck." So what I want to say to you guys today is, when you change the way you see things, what you see will change. When you change the way you see things, what you see will change. So my question again is, what do you see? Is it a rabbit or is it a duck? All right. When you change the way you see things, what you see will change. How you look at opportunities and situations and circumstances makes a huge, huge difference in your life and mine. I'm going to give you a quick story about a little boy that I read about who was born with no legs. And, when he went to school, he was, the kids were pointing, the kids were laughing. And, he said, the kids are laughing at me because I'm different. And he said he started laughing at them because they were all the same. You see, it's the way you look at things, right? Did he see a rabbit or did he see a duck, right? It makes a difference in your life by the way you look at things, right? Does anybody know who Inky Johnson is? This is a guy who's from Atlanta, and he has an awesome podcast. It's called Serendipity. This guy's story was absolutely amazing, and he grew up very poor in the city of Atlanta. He said that he had 14 people living in a 2-bedroom house. He said he never slept on a bed until he went to college. He was sleeping on the floor. Well, his dream was to play in the NFL. His dream was to play NFL football. His dream was to be the first guy in his family to ever graduate from college, right? And what separated this guy was his incredible work ethic. Like, this kid came early, this kid stayed late, and he didn't take no for an answer. Like, he made up his mind that this is what he was going to do, and nothing was going to stop him from achieving his goal. Well, later on in his life, he was a senior at Tennessee, was scheduled to be like a first-round draft pick, a second-round draft pick, All-American. Long story short, his senior year, he gets into he makes a tackle, right? Well, he never gets up, right? And he was injured to the point where the doctors basically told him he was going to die from internal bleeding. So naturally, his entire life, he worked hard. He was dedicated. He was going to the NFL. He was going to be drafted high. He was going to be able to change his family's lives forever. as well as his own, and it was taken away from him in one easy, simple tackle, right? So my thing is, like, you can look at that one of two ways. Was it a rabbit or was it a duck? Right? Well, what happened with Inky was, as a result of him, having this injury, right now he is probably one of the most sought after speakers in the United States of America. And he is making an absolute tremendous impact on people. And he's now, he wrote a book, and he's like guest speakers all over. And, he realized that his goal is to serve people. Had he went to the NFL, he probably would have been an ego-driven guy, not caring about other people, and, probably spending up all his money and ending up broke like 90% of those guys. But now, because of this terrible accident, you see, he had a choice to make. He could look at things one way, or he could look at things the other way. Well, this guy, if he was looking at a duck, well, now he made it a rabbit. And now he's changing people's lives for the better. And it's absolutely an amazing story. So I encourage you, if you get a chance, to look this guy up, Inky Johnson. He's awesome. Awesome speaker. All right. There's another example I want to give to you. If anyone knows who Robert Kiyosaki is, Robert Kiyosaki is a noted author who wrote the book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Awesome story. And really what Robert Kiyosaki discusses is, it's just the way you look at things, right? Some people are poor. They said, I'll never get out of this because I was born on the wrong side of the tracks, right? I was born the wrong color. I never get these. Nobody in my family has ever done this, right? That's the way people look at things. But other people look at it another way and say they can utilize that misfortune to their opportunity, right? Well, one of the things that I remember very vividly in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the book that Robert Kiyosaki wrote, was he told a story about a boy who went to his father and he asked his father for something. I don't remember what the something was. And the poor dad said, son, we just can't afford that. It's not going to happen. We don't have the money. We don't have the resource. We can't afford it, son. Well, the same question was asked to the rich dad, and listen to the response. All right. Because one guy saw a rabbit and when another guy saw the duck. All right. Now, the rich dad said, I guess the son said, Dad, I want to get to whatever. Dad said, son, all we need to do is figure out a way to get that done. All we need to do is figure out a way to afford what it is that you want to get, right? The same problem, right? It's just the way you look at the problems. We all have problems in our lives. My challenge to you is, how are you looking at the challenges and the situations and the circumstances in your personal life? Are you looking at it as a rabbit, or are you looking at it from the side of the duck, right? When you change the way you see things, what you see will eventually change. I'm hoping I'm inspiring you today. All right. Does anybody know who Ed Mylett is? Well, this is another guy who has an awesome podcast. He's like a motivational coach, a leader, an entrepreneurial space leader. He's just, I don't know what his title is, but he just does an incredible job working with people and getting them to max out. That's his thing, max out. He wants people to reach their maximum potential. So Ed has a very interesting story. And his story was that he was a baseball player as a kid, pretty good baseball player. I think he played in college. And Ed grew up in a household where his father was an alcoholic. So obviously there was some dysfunction going on in his family. And what happened with Ed was his baseball career ended abruptly due to an injury. And as a result, he really got down on himself because his whole life was baseball, baseball, baseball. Like, I'm going to play in the National Baseball League. And well, guess what? It all came crashing down, and it crushed the guy, right? He didn't know anything else because that's all he knew. Well, come to find out that his dad was in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? and his dad met a guy in Alcoholics Anonymous that literally gave him a job. So his dad comes in one day and says, son, you're sitting around the couch moping and get your butt up, go to this guy tomorrow, and you got this job. So here goes Ed, this jock, this ego-driven guy, right? Guess what the job was? His job was to be a caregiver for children whose parents were incarcerated, whose parents were on drugs, whose parents were dead, and they had no one. And Ed fell in love with these kids and realized his purpose in life. Well, guess what? Ed's purpose in life was to serve other people, not to play baseball, right? It was that serendipity moment where he said, man, I've been looking at this duck my whole life. And because of what I thought was a bad situation with my dad being an alcoholic, it ended up giving me the ability to see the rabbit. You see, how many people that are listening to this story have very similar circumstances in their lives? And how many of us are choosing to look at things one way and not choosing to look at things the other way? All right. So I'm here to inspire you guys to really just take a close look at, what you're doing, right? Because what I found is that life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. Right? Does that make sense? A lot of times what we think is the worst thing in the world actually ends up being the biggest blessing in the world. And not only to you, but to others that you surround yourself with, right? Well, I know this is Wealth Strategies to Value podcast, and you might be thinking, well, Troy, what the heck does all this have to do with, wealth strategies to value, right? Well, what I'm trying to make a correlation with you guys is this. A lot of people have a lot of predisposed opinions about money and wealth. And when I ask my clients, what's your dreams? What's your goals? What are your objectives? What are you looking to achieve in life? And they tell me. And when I look at what they're doing with their money, what we find out most of the time is that it doesn't line up. Like what you're doing with your money will never, ever get you to what you told me was important to you because of the way they've been looking at it. I am obsessed with getting my clients to see the rabbit if they're looking at the duck. I'm obsessed to get my clients to stop looking at the duck, right, and see the rabbit. My responsibility to my clients is to show them how to maximize their financial potential. And most of the time, what I see is people are forfeiting opportunities to the banks, to the insurance companies, to the Internal Revenue Service, unknowingly and unnecessarily. So when we can reveal the truth and show them a different way of looking at the same exact problem, it creates opportunity. All right. Quick example. Anybody ever buy a new car? Let's say you bought a red car. Let's say you bought a black truck, right? What happens the next day when you're driving around in your new car? All you see is red cars, or all you see is black trucks. Now, those cars and those trucks have been there every single day, but you didn't notice them until you purchased a new car or a new truck. You see, the opportunity was there, but you didn't see it, right? When you bought the new car, now all of a sudden you see all these other new cars, right? Here's an example of what I see a lot. When I ask clients what their needs and goals are, and they say, well, Troy, I want to be debt free. I hate debt. I pay cash for everything, right? And at the exact same time, when I look at what they're doing, they're funding a 401k through their company employer. Now, one side of it says, okay, I'm getting a company match. That's pretty good, right? That's free money. Isn't that what they tell you? Well, I get a tax deduction, right? My accountant says this is what I need to do to reduce my current taxes this year, right? So that's the way they look at it, right? And then when I come and I say, well, that's the rabbit, right? That's what you see. That's what you believe. That's your opinion, right? Well, when I come and I say, well, listen, do you believe taxes are going to be higher in the future? And they most definitely say, well, sure, of course, our country's in debt, we need this and that. Well, did you understand that you're creating a compound tax inside your 401k? The more money that you have inside that account, the more taxes that you owe. That's tax debt. But you just told me you want to be debt free. You just told me you hate debt. But you're creating a compounding tax debt inside of an account, and you don't even understand it. You have no idea how much of that account is going to be yours because you have absolutely no idea what the government is going to require you to pay at distribution. You see, people are losing opportunity because of the way they're looking at things, right? Is it the rabbit or is it the duck? It's just the way you look at it. Here's another example of Wall Street. I have some clients of mine that are very, very astute investors, very, very proud of the fact that they've accumulated a lot of wealth in the stock market, right? They believe in Wall Street. Okay. So, the old saying, this is what advisors say that, over the last 30 years that it's averaged 10% return in the stock market on Wall Street, right? That's what they tell you. They always focus on rate of return, right? They never have conversations about, distribution. It's always buy and hold, right? Well, when you're buying, you're helping Wall Street. When you're holding, you're helping Wall Street, right? So when I come along and I have these conversations and I say, well, if you're getting 10 on Wall Street, that's a gross number, right? But the net number says we got to take out 3% for taxes, right? We got to take out 3% for inflation. We got to take out 3% for fees, right? We got to take out 3% for risk. Right. So when you add that up, right, you 10% minus 3, you're negative 2%. See, it's the duck. You saw the rabbit. I'm showing you the duck. What's the rate of return on never losing a penny in your life ever again? What's the rate of return for you as a client to know that I have access to my money without taxes, without fees, without market risk? You see, you can't even put a number on that. What's the rate of return on being able to leave generational wealth to your family? Like, what's the rate of return on that? Leaving money not just to your children, right? But leaving money to your children's children. Like, what's the rate of return on that? You see, here's where we come in to help people really understand how wealth really and truly works. I'm obsessed with showing people the rabbit if they see the duck and vice versa. Whatever I have to do to make my clients' dreams come true, that's really what I'm about doing. All right. What I have to understand, what I've come to understand is that if traditional planning works so well, if Wall Street was really that thing that was going to be helping people be successful, here's a question that I pose. There's 360 million people in the United States of America. So if Wall Street really did earn 10%, why are 90% of the people broke? Think about that. If it did actually earn 10% per year over the last 30 years, we'd all be a heck of a lot more wealthier than we currently are. It's broken. We've been shown the rabbit or the duck. We've been looking at this photo and being told that it's a duck. And now we believe it. So what I'm saying is it's not a duck. It's a rabbit. All right. So we have to really take stock in not just what we see, but what we don't see, what's not being shown to us. And this is where I believe I bring value to the table to help my clients see what they don't see. Hey, listen, guys, I'm out of time. It was awesome spending some time with you. And just to let you know, we're coming up on season 2 in 2023. All right. So this will be our last podcast for the year of 2022. And I can't wait to introduce you to some of my clients, because we're going to be really getting into some nitty gritty with some of my clients. They are going to be my guests on season 2 of Wealth Strategies to Value. And I can't wait for you to get some insight and hear from some of the people that I deal with on a regular daily basis. Some absolutely amazing people with some amazing stories. So I can't wait for 2023. Until then, I'm just signing off now. And remember, Wealth Strategies to Value, share this with people you know, you love, and you trust. The more you share with people, the more we can get this message out to people that really need to hear this information. So send a like, give me a star, give me a rating. And that really helps me, spread this message of financial literacy to the entire world. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.